Hey smart people, it's Tobi Salami again. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how you can build a dynamic glossary of words page, such as this. As you can see, there are categorizations for each letter, and inside of each letter, you have all of the words that start with that letter. Now, if you're looking for how to build something like this and make it absolutely dynamic, you're in the right place, because I'm about to show you just how to do that. If you're thinking to yourself, did I create a term, for example, for each of the letters and then begin to attach each word to them? Absolutely not. What I did instead was to build a dynamic query. Let's test it out. Let's see if it actually does work. If you come inside of words here, you see that there is no word starting with the letter A, and that's intentional. Let's add a new word, and this time we want it to start with the letter A. The word, for example, could be advanced custom fields. So let's just write that out here, advanced custom fields. Okay, and we're going to hit publish. Now, once we're done publishing, we can come to the front end and refresh this and see what happens now. A new categorization for the letter A has been created, and as you can see, that particular word is inside of that categorization. Any additional word you add now that begins with the letter A will all be categorized inside of the same category. Now, I call these categories, but they're not really categories. I'm going to show you how to do this if you subscribe and follow for more and you pay attention till the end of this video. Shall we? JetEngine is the main plugin you need. Every other plugin here really doesn't matter. You can choose to use Elementor Pro or Gutenberg or Bricks Builder. Any page builder of your choice is fine. As long as it supports JetEngine, you are good to go. Just install JetEngine and we're ready to go on. Our first step is to create a post type that will hold our glossary of words. So let's come inside of JetEngine and click on post types. Now inside of post types, we want to click on add new, the way you know how to do it. Now we just want to give the post type a name. We can call it words. That should be fine. Please take note of the post types log as we'll need this for later. Let's just copy that and go on. Now that we have that, we want to come down here to advanced settings and ensure that we have editor selected here. Because of course, when we add the title of that particular word that's going to be part of the glossary, we also want to add some description. We're going to add that description inside of the editor, but for now, everything looks okay. Any other thing you want to edit here is entirely your choice. For now, let's just click on add post type. Once we add the post type, we see it now here on the menu item as words. Good. The next step is to add some words to that glossary. So let's come inside of the post type of words and add a few words. I'm just going to add a few of them and we can go on. Now you notice I have a few words added here. You see some of them start with the letter M, some with the letter C, another with the letter Q, M, G, B, S, and so on. Now, how do you categorize all of these words as you saw at the beginning of this video, such that each of the letters have all of the words inside of that section? Well, you can do that by simply querying the first letter of all of these words. Now, that takes us to our next step, which is to create a query that fetches the first letter of the glossary words. Let's do that. We'll come inside of Query Builder. You get to Query Builder by clicking on Query Builder here. And inside of here, we're going to add a new query. Now, this query, we can call it query of first letter of words. That sounds descriptive enough. We can come down here to query type, and instead of selecting post query, we want to select instead SQL query. Now, why do we not select the post query? Because right now, there is no way inside of this interface for us to actually query the post title. So the way to do that will be to come inside of the query type and select SQL and AI query. Now, once that is selected, you can come down here to where you have from table and want to select the post table because, of course, words are part of a CPT or custom post types called words. So post types, posts. Let's come back inside of the query builder and select from the table posts. We're going to go to posts and select that. Now, after that is selected, we can toggle on the preview results here at the top and see what we have now. We see we have 703 posts on the site, and this comes from all manner of post types on the site. Let's drill this down to the post type that we need, and the post type is actually the post type of words. So let's do that. Let's come inside of where and select add new. We want to come to column and select post type. And inside of compare, we want to select equal. And inside of value, do you recall that we copied the post type slug? That's where you put it. So we're just going to type in here, words. Now you see you have 10 words, 10 results here. And if you come back inside of here, you see the count here is also 10. That makes absolute sense, doesn't it? Let's come back inside of the query builder. We want to specify something additional here. And what we want to specify here is inside of column, we want to select that the post status is equal to publish. And this will ensure that words that we have inside of drafts, for example, don't show up inside of this query. And this is good. This is absolutely good. We're going somewhere with this. Next, we're going to come down here to where we have include calculated columns. And our reason for this is that we really want to fetch the first letter of all of the items inside of the words. So let's do that. Let's toggle on include calculated columns and click on add new. Now follow me, as what we're about to do is a little bit tricky, but it actually does work. Now if you come to column, you want to select here, of course, the post title, and inside of function, you want to select custom. Now, what is the custom function you're going to select here? Just keep in mind, first of all, that what we have right now inside of our results are all of the 10 items. As you can take note here, inside of the custom post title, which we just selected here, by default, it returns the post title as you can see. Meta fields, custom post type, custom content type, and so on. Now, let's return the first letter of each of these expressions. The way you would do that is to fetch the letter on the far left. As you can see on the left of each of the words is M, for example, and here you have C, for example, and here you have C, for example, and so on. So let's fetch that. We're just going to type in here left and open a bracket. And inside of the bracket, we want to pass this column inside of there. So we're going to use this expression here. As you can see here, we're just going to copy that and paste that inside of there and separate it with a comma and then write how many characters we want to show. In our case, we want to show one character. So we're going to write 1 there and close the bracket. As you can see now, you have, for example, in this meta field, you have just M returned here. You have in this next one C, in this next one C, and so on. Now this is all coming together very, very nicely. Do you recall that when I showed you this at the beginning of this video, I showed you that it was categorized by letters. But what I didn't show you at the beginning of this video was a repetition of those letters. As you can see here, you have C in 2 places, or you want it only to show each of these letters once, right? So all of the items belonging in C, for example, you want them to be under just one occurrence of C. Now, to do that, we want to add one additional definition to this custom function. And the definition here is to write out the word distinct and separate it with a space. So we're saying distinct left. And what this simply means here is that no matter how many times this letter shows up, we only want to show one instance of that letter. Now, if we come back inside of the returned query, you see M shows once, C doesn't show multiple times anymore, it shows only once, and you see Q here, and you see G here, and down here you see B, and so on. Now this is all looking very, very good. What we've been able to do so far is that we've been able to query the glossary of the words. And after querying it, we checked for the first letter of all of these items here. And then we returned only one occurrence of each of this letter. This is absolutely great. Once we're done with that, we can click Add Query. We want to also specify inside of our query that this should go from the least letter to the highest. Now to do that, let's come back and just make one last edit to this query by coming inside of order by, and inside of order by here, we want to select again the post title, and we want to order it here from lowest to highest. Now that will go from B, as you can see here, to C, to E, to G, and this is all good. Once we're done, let's update our query and go ahead to create that listing. Want to come inside of listing and components and click on add new item. The listing source will of course be query builder because that's what we use to build our query, and we want to select here the query of first letter of words. Good. Now, this is going to be listing of letters. Let's just call it that. It's good, right? Want to click on create listing item after, of course, we've selected the page builder we're using. If we're using Bricks or Gutenberg, we select that here. For now, I'm just going to use Elementor to do this. Click on create listing item and we're in. Now, once we're inside of here, we want to add a container. A simple container should be fine. The next thing we want to do is to add a dynamic field widget. So let's just select the dynamic field widget and drag that inside of here. Now, what do we want to select here? Let's come back inside the query and find out. As you can see here, you have the custom post title, as you can see here. So let's just copy that as is, all the way from the bracket to the C. So we're just going to copy it just like that and come inside of here and paste that inside of here. As you can see, it returns the first item on that list, which is B. This is good. This is absolutely good. The next thing we want to do is just style this up a bit to look a bit more like what we're aiming for. So let's just select maybe this variable value of heading 2. All good. Now, the next thing we want to do is to create a query to fetch all of the items in the glossary. So for each of these categorizations, we want to fetch all of the items belonging to that categorization. So let's publish this and come back to our query and build a new query. The next query we want to add now is a query of words. Query of words in each letter. So let's just call it that. Query of words in each letter. Now, again, because of the fact that we cannot select post title inside of this query, we want to select instead SQL and AI query. This is good. We want to move now to post table and again, of course, select posts. So we're just going to select that, posts. Next, you want to specify things as you did before. The things you specify are things like the post type, which you're going to select would be equal to words. And let's toggle on the preview results so we see what we're fetching. We see we have a total of 10 items here, and that is absolutely good. Let's also specify that we only need items that are published. So we're just going to select the column post status and select equal to publish. So let's just type in publish here, and that's awesome. Still returns 10 items, all 10 are published. That is looking good for us. The next thing we want to do is to specify that the post title belongs to the particular letter in which that glossary of word appears. So the way to specify that would be to come inside of add new here, and under column, we want to specify here that the post title is, and we're going to use compare, but instead of selecting equal this time, we're going to come down here to regexp. Now, why do we need to select regular expression? It's because of the fact that in the world of programming in general, regular expression is used to define things such as this. For example, in regular expression, when you use this symbol and you specify a letter such as B, you're specifying that you want any item you retrieve from the database should start, and that's what it means there, starts with the letter B, for example. And that's why you see it returns one item here. If we change this, for example, to C, you see it returns 3 items because now you have 3 items custom post type, as you can see in the post title here. If you scroll down here to the next, you see another one, custom content type, and the last one, you see crocoblock. You see there are 3 items inside of the words that start with the letter C. Now, this makes absolute sense. This makes good sense. We can say that it starts with the dynamic item from the current listing. If this is getting confusing, just hold on. Just stay with me, okay? And what we really want to do here is take this off because we don't need to specify that manually. We don't need to build a query for each of the letters in this listing of letters, do we? No, we want one query to dynamically fetch all of the items belonging to that group of words, right? So let's specify that. The way to do that would be to come inside of value and specify shortcode. So let's just select shortcode. Shortcode result. Now, what shortcode are we going to use here? Let's come inside of JetEngine and build one for ourselves. Let's come inside of JetEngine, and here we want to come to the shortcode generator. Now, how did we fetch this item in the first place? You recall we simply pasted this inside of here and it fetched this item, right? Good. So let's do that. Let's copy that. Let's come back inside of JetEngine, and here on the custom object field, as you see, it's also inside of this dynamic field widget here. We want to specify the exact same thing. Now, this will very simply fetch the custom post title for us. Once we have that created, we have our shortcode ready to use. Let's just copy that shortcode and come back inside of the query here and specify that inside of the shortcode results. But that will only return the letter. We also need that symbol that will specify that this should start. This letter that we're fetching inside of the shortcode should be the start of the word. So how do we specify that? We simply come inside of advanced settings at the top right here, and inside of the before, we want to specify that character there. So we're saying whatever returns inside the shortcode, just get the start of that particular letter for us. And this is all looking excellent. Inside of the where relation here, we want to specify that this should be AND. So all of these conditions we specified here should be true for this query to return anything. We see it still returns 10 items here, and that's because this shortcode means technically nothing in this particular situation. Now, the way to ensure that it actually works is to click on Add Query. Now, we have our query ready to use. The next thing we want to do is to build a listing of actual words. So let's build that listing here. We'll come inside of listing and components again and want to add a new listing. Now, this listing source would also be query builder, and the query will be the query we just created, the query of words in each letter. Select that, and inside of listing item, we want to call that listing of words for current letter, if I can spell current. And after that, we want to click on create listing item. That's of course after we select the page builder we're using. Let's click on create listing item. Now that we've created this listing, what do we need to fetch inside of here? Put simply, we need to fetch the word. So we're going to simply create a simple container, and inside of here, we want to add the dynamic field widget again. Once we drop that there, by default, it's going to fetch the object field of title. And this is absolutely good. Let's leave everything else as is and just click on publish. Now I want to come back inside of the other listing, the listing of letters that we have here, and paste the listing we had from here. So let's just put that listing here by dragging in the listing grid widget. And we're going to put the listing here by simply selecting listing of words. Good. Now I want to select that it's going to be in one column, so it's going to be in one line, and you can see it already that it's working absolutely beautifully, because as you can see here, inside of the letter B, you have Bricks Builder listed here. This is marvelous. Now let's just style this a little bit so it looks more appealing. Just going to come to the container and give it a padding of, let's say, 20 pixels, and we want to give it a border radius of probably 16. And inside of each of these items here, we just want to give it maybe a different color so it looks not so bland, maybe something. I'm trying to intentionally make this ugly if you're thinking of what I'm doing right now. So let's just come here to dark font and give this a color such as this. Now, we also want to specify that this container should have a background color of, let's say, white, and we should be good. Once we hit publish, we can come inside of the edit page here and drop that listing inside of here. What listing are we going to put here on the particular page where we need to show a glossary? You guessed it right. It's a simple listing of the letters. Not of the words, but of the letters. Because it's that has inside of it the actual words as part of that group. So let's come to columns number and make this one column. As you can see here, first of all, we notice two things. Number one is that this is ordered alphabetically. You can see it's B to C to E to G to M. Good, the way it is in the language of English. Now, the second thing you notice is that in each of these items, like B, C, E, each of them has the words that are part of that particular grouping. Now, you see that for each of the items inside of C, for example, they all start with the letter C. For the one of E, it starts with the letter E, and so on. This is absolutely good. But there is something I need to mention. Some time ago, I used to work for an agency where we basically built sites that were all in Hebrew. And if you recall, when we came inside of our query, the query of each of the letters, let's come back inside the query here, we specified inside of that query that we needed to fetch the first letter on the left, as you can see it here. distinct left. But for the agency I used to work for, we built sites that were completely in the language of Hebrew. And if you know the language Hebrew, you would understand it's written from right to left. So the first letter in a Hebrew expression would actually not be on the left, but will be on the right. So instead of writing distinct left, if you're Hebrew, one of my Hebrew friends, you're going to write here distinct right, and it's going to fetch the last letter in that particular expression. As you can see here, it fetches K, E, G, and so on. So the last letter. But for us, English, we're going to type in distinct left. The way we had it before was absolutely all right. Let's come back inside the edit page there. I just want to get that out of the way, and we want to select and click on publish. Oh, we did that already. Let's come to the front end and refresh this. And now, as you can see, we have a dynamic glossary of words page. If we want to test this out and create another word that has the letter B, for example, and see if it gets categorized here, we can simply come inside of words and add a new post. Let's add a new post and call it big. Big is what my name is translated to English. Tobi means big in English. So let's just click on publish, and we're going to come to the front end again and refresh this. Let's see if we have big now inside of here. There it is. Now you can build a simple dynamic glossary of words page that is actually really dynamic. You don't have to create any terms and select the first letter and then forget to do that later in the future. You just have to do it as simply and as easy as this. If you have any questions relating to what I've just shown you, let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to help. As always, people, my name is Tobi Salami, and until next time, stay dynamic.